Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tullahoma. I'd like to welcome our friends who have come out today in person. I'd like to welcome our friends on YouTube and especially those on Zoom too. Let's see, our opening reading. Excuse me, I'm gonna have to go off and on with my glasses. Come into the circle of love and justice. Come into the community of mercy, holiness, and health. Come in, and you shall know peace and joy. And Costa, would you light the chalice, please? We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, and celebration of life we share together. Thank you. Announcements. No, we actually have a hymn this morning. Lucy is going to play us a hymn.
Two. Now?
Yeah, now.
Go now.
And what is the number again?
34.
34. Have 134 in your hymnals. Now, are we going to play it once through and then go?
Yes.
Okay.
But yes, once through once. Play it through once, then we'll sing.
We needed some of those people who can sing to sing loud.
Yeah, I have to change sometimes.
Let's see. And now we have announcements.
say again, we've got a lot of poetry books out there, and Stan kind of loaded up when he was here last time. And I guess one of the readings this morning, I absconded with the Langston Hughes book. There's a lot of good poetry up there, and it's just kind of, it's a great thing for a meditation if you want to use those.
Okay, great. Let's see, PFLAG, they meet here
Second Monday.
second Monday of the month. Do you know what the time is?
6, I believe.
6 o'clock, okay. Costa?
Yeah, just an announcement that we are in the middle of our pledge drive, which started April 1st through April 30th. So there are pledge drive forms outside on the table, or you could always just email me, and it's the amount you'd like to pledge for our new budget year, which starts July 1. Yeah, if you put that down, it really helps us be able to project what our budget can be for next year. So any contributions are welcome. So thank you.
Thanks, Costa, that's important. We do need you to please fill out pledge forms. Let's see, any other announcements?
Chuck.
Jim and Chuck.
Chuck and.
Oh, Chuck, okay.
Go ahead, Chuck, you go first.
Okay, I just wanted to say that the formerly Thursday, now Wednesday night discussion group will be meeting Wednesday. We finished the series we were on, so we're not entirely sure what we'll be doing this week. Rick sent me a good suggestion, and I'll talk to him about that for a webinar. But I'll talk to Rick about that if it's possible. We'll do that, or watch a TED Talk or something and talk about it. If you actually come to church, there will be snacks. If you don't,
Thanks. And
Jim.
Jim.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So we will have a board meeting after talk back today. We'll take a 5-10 minute break after talk back and then start our regular scheduled monthly board meeting. And also at church, we still are needing help on Sunday morning with the setup crew to set up the church, clean up afterwards, and then also Katie would like assistance or a backup person to learn how to do the IT computer aspects of things. So right now, the folks stepping up are primarily board members, and we need other members of the congregation to step up and help. So your assistance would be greatly appreciated. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any other announcements? Okay. Next week's speaker is going to be our very own Carrie Hawk. She'll be talking on Article 2, proposed changes of the UU.
It's what they're looking at doing to improve the principles that we have on the wall over here and are in your hymnal. People wanted to add all life instead of just whatever's in it now, humans or whatever.
Yeah.
And we wanted to make sure we covered racism, and it's been 40 years since, or maybe more than that, since the principles were last looked at.
Oh, okay.
So, and anyway, it's very interesting what they've done. So.
Okay. And also, I want to thank you, Carrie, for a beautiful newsletter. Remember, if you have anything to add to the newsletter, please let Carrie know. Our reading is a poem by one of my favorite authors, and I really have trouble understanding it. And when I read it, I thought it was beautiful, but I did not quite understand it. So I'm asking Tom to read that this morning. So Tom, would you read?
I will give it a try.
It is reading, what is the number, Tom?
545.
545.
Yeah, this is by Langston Hughes. He's
Phenomenal
a
poet.
phenomenal poet. So in fact, I know I went to Clifton, Tennessee, and there was actually a small museum there that featured Langston Hughes' life and works. So I absconded with, out of all these books, Karen Nelson's copy of Langston Hughes' work. So I'm going to be reading more of that myself.
And if you'll speak kind of really loud so we can all hear
Okay,
too.
we'll see what we can do. It's called In the Time of Silver Rain. In time of silver rain, the earth puts forth new life again. Green grasses grow and flowers lift their heads, and over all the plain the wonder spreads of life, of life, of life, in time of silver rain. The butterflies lift silken wings to catch a rainbow's cry. The trees put forth new leaves to sing in joy beneath the sky, when spring and life are new.
Thank you, Sean. That's really appropriate for this time of year too.
Yes.
That's really beautiful listening to it. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce our speaker, Tera Ashley.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Tera. Oh, I'm on the screen. I'm Tera Ashley. Is my PowerPoint video? Sorry.
PowerPoint.
Or my PDF now. All right, awesome. A little bit about me. I've been in sustainable agriculture for, I'm in my 9th season as a farmer. And so this has been much of my adult life's work is sustainable agriculture. So I wanted to share a bit about that with you today. Full disclaimer, I'm a person who stutters, so I've prepared about a 40-minute talk, but I'll try to have it done in a couple hours for you. And if it lasts that long, what a treat, you know. So we'll just jump right in here. A look at sustainable farming through a systems lens. And so I work currently, I'm the vegetable manager at Caney Fork Farms. We are a regenerative farm in Carthage, Tennessee. And so I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about definitions. If you'll go to the next slide. Love it, thank you. So sustainability and regenerative, those are used a lot, but they're not always used well. So we'll talk about that. So sustainable development at its essence is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So that is really at the heart of sustainability there. And then regenerative, that's used by a lot of different farmers, a lot of different companies. But what it really is conservation and rehabilitation approach to food and farming systems. So it focuses on topsoil regeneration, food and farming systems. Increasing biodiversity, improving the water cycle, enhancing ecosystem services, supporting biosequestration, increasing resilience to climate change, which is very important in this day and age, and strengthening the health and vitality of farm soil. Now, this is done through a combination of sustainable practices. So they're used interchangeably sometimes, and I think that's okay. I'm not going to get into semantics over that. It's not a big deal. So we'll just jump right in. What does a sustainable farm look like? And that really starts with our mindset. We can talk about doing these practices or these practices, but really we're not going to do them well unless we actually look at the system as a whole. And so, sorry, next slide, sorry. And so I wanted to talk about systems thinking versus linear thinking. And this is really getting into the heart of a systems lens. So we're really good, especially as humans, when we find something that affects us. We're really good at determining those components and seeing those components that bother us, especially. And we'll often come up with solutions for those particular things. We're not as great at figuring out how A might affect D or how D might affect C. We'll just go for, hey, A is affecting me, let's put a stop to A. And so this is the heart of making a sustainable farm. Learning systems and also learning patterns and cycles in those specific systems. We can go to the next slide. And so I want to talk about first, to start us off, 2 sustainable practices that we do at Caney Fork Farms, and then the systems kind of be behind those practices. So first is no and / low till farming, and we can go to the next slide. And there it is, no and low till farming, and we can keep going. And so some of the benefits of no-till farming, why would we do this? Better water holding capacity of the soil, less need for fossil fuel powered machinery, improved soil health, better water quality due to decreased sediment runoff, less carbon dioxide released from the soil, and less soil erosion. Those are some of the benefits of no-till farming. We can keep going. Also, less compaction and more space to grow. If you have a smaller space that is not and you're not using tractor-based farming, you don't have to create pathways that are big for those big old tractor wheels. You can fit more food into less space. And this then the biggest one, less disturbance to soil biota. So what is soil biota? Soil biota, it can be microorganisms living in the soil. So it can be bacteria, fungi, and algae. And then it can also be the soil animals. So protozoa, nematodes, mites, springtail spiders, insects, earthworms. Those are all super important. And why is it important? They play such an important role in supplying nutrients to plants, maintaining soil structure, regulating water, suppressing disease, and increasing crop yield. So they actually make nutrients accessible to our plants. So you might have, like a farmer might have calcium in the soil, but unless he or she has microbes that are going to break those nutrients down to where they're accessible, the plant can't actually uptake that calcium. And so without these, we are not good farmers. So we actually have to co-farm with these creatures in order to grow food. And so I wanted to talk about a study and show the effects of tillage on soil biota. So this study was pretty interesting. It took place over several years, and it used over 60 different farms. So this is a pretty comprehensive study about the effects of tillage on soil biota. And we'll go up. Next one. I wanted to talk about the different different tillages and what I mean. So there's no-till, which soil is not disturbed or it's minimally disturbed through hand tools or tines. And then shallow non-inversion tillage, only the top few inches of soil are disturbed, but it's not it's not flipped over, essentially. Deep non-inversion tillage, same thing as top, just deeper. And then plowing and tilling, the soil is actually turned over. So it's actually turned and flipped over. Big old swaths of soil turned over. And we'll keep going. And so this review study measured the effects of different practices on 4 of these soil food web superstars. So earthworms, fungi, bacterial loads, nematode. By the way, these actually aren't to scale. Don't worry. They're not to scale. But anyway, all of these, it wanted to see what happened with these different tillage practices. And so I wanted to talk about earthworms real quick before we jumped into what actually occurred in that study. As a reminder, as a farmer, I have a very deep reverence for earthworms. I'm one of those people where if I see them on the gravel trying to cross the road, I will pick them up and put them to the other side. It's a weird thing, but it's what I do. Earthworms, they to me are the biggest tillers. They are the most important tillers. So they enhance root growth, water flow, infiltration, and gas exchange in soil. All these tunnels, this is great for water to come through. It absorbs the water better. And they make organic matter more accessible to microorganisms. They are the top of the food chain in soil, and so they are kind of the most important to me. And we'll go up. So the study findings. The application of both shallow non-inversion tillage and no tillage was significantly increased earthworm number and biomass when compared to inversion tillage. And so, in fact, the earthworm numbers saw an increase between 56 and 125% when no tillage was used. And then earthworm biomass as a whole, their weight saw an increase between 108 and 416%. So those are huge numbers. So if they are co-farmers with us, their numbers really matter. We can go to the next one. And then to talk about microbial biomass for a second, bacteria and fungi are lumped together in this load. And remember, they govern nutrient supply. So the earthworms break it down, they break it down further, make it accessible for the plants. And we'll go up. And the study findings, basically something similar. So shallow non-inversion tillage, shallow non-inversion tillage and no tillage resulted in an increase of the microbial biomass between 48% and higher compared to plowing. Now, little different thing happened. So when it was plowed pretty deeply, it kind of reversed. So we had higher numbers of the microbial biomass deeper than the top. But remember, when you're planting into the ground, where are the roots? The roots are at the top of the soil. That's where, so you need those microbes at top to actually get the nutrients to the plant. And they were inconclusive on nematodes, so we didn't talk about those. So next one. So some takeaways from this study. They result in so no tillage, non-inversion tillage, higher earthworm population, which means to me better land. And then viewing soil biota as co-farmers, we can reduce the use of synthetic fertilizers. We can reduce the use of pesticides. We'll get to that in a moment. And then when we grow healthy soil, we get healthy food as a byproduct of that. So as a farmer, I don't think that I just grow food, I grow soil. That's the most important thing to focus on. So the second practice, is beyond IPM. IPM is integrated pest management. You may, who's heard of that at all? The farmer that I brought with me. Awesome, great. Beyond IPM. So this is a good tool. You know, we use it as we monitor, and we only use chemicals when necessary. That is the basic idea of IPM. I want to go beyond IPM and to talk about holistic pest management and where do we actually fit into the system, because I still think that IPM doesn't recognize cycles as a whole as it should. So let's talk about that. And that's a hornworm, and they're not fun. We don't love them, but they still are a part of that system that we need. So my favorite book is Ishmael. Has anyone read Ishmael? So it really changed my idea as a farmer. So I read this passage. This law defines the limits of competition in the community of life. You may compete to the full extent of your capabilities, but you may not hunt down your competitors or destroy their food or deny them access to food. In other words, you may compete, but you may not wage war. So it's a talking gorilla in the book that says this. It's very powerful. He also says that as we are humans, we are the only species that kills another species because we eat the same food source. This is not a trait that I think we should be very proud of. So when I learned this, it really changed my idea of when I saw an insect eating my crops, what I should do about that. I started feeling really bad when I started picking them off and putting it in my jar of dish soap. I stopped doing that shortly after that. And we'll go up and we'll talk about what I try to do now. So I try to do holistic pest management now. This is more than simply using organic chemicals as well. If farmers are only using organic chemicals to spray and kill their pests, we're not exactly going above and beyond conventional farmers. I'm not trying to vilify conventional farmers at all here, but it's not. I don't think that it is the best practice for our land. I don't think that it is a regenerative or sustainable practice at all. So intervening should always be a last resort. And instead, we should look at insects as indicators, and we should prevent and prepare. And first and foremost, we should avoid disrupting the ecosystem. So let's go into how we do that. So these are the questions that I have to ask a lot. What kinds of insects are present right now? What are the insects telling us about the crops or the soil health? We'll get into that in a second. What part of the life cycle are the insects in? Could I make changes in my crop rotation to discourage them? Maybe I'm planting a family, a crop family that too close together in a time to where I planted it before. And am I encouraging insects with certain practices, certain mulches? Insects like to overwinter in them and thrive, and then when I plant something in them, they like to pop out. And could I prevent or prepare for them by taking different measures? And so I really like to look at insects as indicators. So there's a scientist by the name of Tom Dextra, and what he does he developed the Brix leaf test. And what the Brix leaf test does is you take a sample of the plant's leaves and you test the sugar content of those leaves. The sugar scale is between 0 and 20, and this tests your plant's photosynthetic capabilities. So the plant produces food via the sunlight. The better that it can produce, the better that it can photosynthesize, the more sugars that it's going to be producing. And so the higher amount of sugar found in the plant leaves, the better it is photosynthesizing. And when it's not photosynthesizing well, it's usually due to lack of nutrients, lack of great conditions for that plant. 12 is the magic number on the Brix scale. So they have determined that if a plant is 12 on the Brix scale, pests are usually leaving that alone. Pests are not touching that. And here's why. So a bug, an insect, does not have the digestive system that we do. Ours is incredibly complex, and so all of those sugars that are created during photosynthesis, they cannot process them. So they have actually done studies, and they've seen a grasshopper go try to bite a plant with a Brix of 12 or higher, and it'll take a bite and then it'll leave it alone. It can't process it. It'll leave it alone. So if you think about it, if a plant is teeming with bugs, is that already a healthy plant? No, probably not. It is not able to photosynthesize well. So the bugs are not simply eating our crops because they want to eat the crop. They're doing the cleanup. They're doing nature's cleanup in that. So if I see, I might have a whole row of tomatoes and all of them look great except one plant has bugs all over that plant might have some serious root damage, or it is not getting what it needs. And so we use them as indicators of our soil health and our plant health instead of, hey, you're eating my crop, I gotta get rid of you. And there's a lot of things that we can do to prevent and prepare insects as well. So large, healthy seedlings will have better defenses against insects. More sets of leaves equals higher synthetic capability. So I never put a plant out with only 2 little leaves on it. It just doesn't have enough photosynthetic power. It's going to be more susceptible to pest damage for that reason. And then if I do have to put out a seedling that's a little smaller than I would like it to be, I use floating row cover. Make it harder for the insects. They might still find a way in. And then prevent and prepare. Grow extra plants with the expectation that there might be some loss. You know, that's okay. Just put that into your crop plan. The next thing, know where we fit in the ecosystem. Know where we fit in the system. We avoid disrupting the ecosystem. So let's look at this. So let's look at other way. Yeah, this is a great one. Let's look. I think one of the most important things that we can do is just leave stuff alone. And so this is one of those examples. So this is a hornworm. Who likes hornworms in here? Yeah, no hands. Yeah, that's fair. They definitely can decimate your crops overnight. And what's frustrating about hornworms, especially, is they'll get on your tomato plant and they go for the most top tender leaves, which also has the terminal bud. So they'll eat that, and then the plant can't produce anymore instead. And then they'll just hop right along. They'll go the next one, and they'll just eat the terminal buds and just the whole row, and it'll just be like that overnight. We could just kill them. That is one way to go about that. Or we could move that hornworm to a different area of your field. And here's why. When the plants are getting eaten, they start to send out a distress signal. They send out distress pheromones, and these pheromones call to the braconid wasp. And so the wasp comes and it lays eggs on the hornworm. Those eggs hatch, and the larva eats the hornworm from the inside out. It's very graphic. It's very gruesome. But this is nature. This is the cycle. This is the cycle that is already taking place. If we deny that cycle from happening, we are really disrupting the ecosystem and causing a great disservice. What's interesting about this study is scientists have tried to take braconid wasp and just put it in a random crop. It actually won't eat any hornworm from any crop. It has to eat the crop that the hornworm was eating that it was laid on. So they'll only eat. They'll just lay their eggs on another hornworm eating a tomato plant if that was what they were laid on. Anyway, the next example. Avoid disrupting the ecosystem. This is a gall wasp. We grow a lot of chestnut trees at Caney Fork Farms, and when the chestnut trees are small, especially, they're really susceptible to gall wasps. They'll come in, they'll wreak havoc on the plant's leaves, and they can do some serious damage. And so some people can spray them, but if you wait a little bit, the next predator wasps will come in. They'll take care of those gall wasps. So if we just kind of step back for a second and realize the cycle that's going on, we won't disrupt Mother Nature. And the next one. Okay, so this is the thistlehead weevil. I apologize for the picture. It was the only one I could find. But this is the thistlehead weevil. Who likes thistles? Yeah. No, I do actually have them on my shirt. I didn't plan that, but it just happened. Thistles are really annoying to people, and so a lot of people, they see them in their yard, they'll immediately chop them all down. This is a problem. So one, lots of critters rely on the thistle fluffy bits to make their nests. And then when you are destroying the thistles, you won't actually destroy all of them. You're just not going to do it. But you think that you are, but you're also destroying the habitat of the only of one of the only creatures that keeps the thistle in check. And so the thistlehead weevil gets in there, makes its home, actually kills the thistle. So you are disrupting that cycle there. Now, the flip side of that, if you'll go down, this is so much slicker in a PowerPoint, I promise. The flip side of that is that the thistlehead weevil was actually is actually an invasive species that was introduced to take care of the invasive species of thistle. Lo and behold, this guy doesn't care what passport your thistles hold. It's just gonna go. It's just gonna go to anyone. It doesn't matter. So now this is an invasive bug. So we tried, not thinking, not realizing. We took this bug from another country, brought it here to help get rid of the invasive thistles, and now we have a serious problem on our hands. So let's keep going. Again, avoiding avoid disrupting the ecosystem. So, a lot of times you'll see in garden catalogs people recommending, oh, why don't you have an aphid problem? Why don't you buy some ladybugs or some lacewings? Or hey, you have this problem. Why don't you get some praying mantises? So there's a few things wrong with those. So one, if you get some ladybugs, I don't know has anyone tried to put ladybugs in their garden? Cool. So they come to you frozen, and you kind of sprinkle them out into your hand. They're still frozen, but they'll wake up later, and you kind of just sprinkle them around your garden. At least 85% of them are just gonna fly away. You're just wasting your money. But you're also not thinking about what the actual problem might be in your garden. The same thing with praying mantises. Most of the time that you purchase a praying mantis online, it's probably going to be the invasive Chinese species of praying mantis. Now, these guys are particularly harmful in your garden. So we've heard throughout the years that they're a beneficial insect. They're beneficial in that they do eat bugs that might eat your crops. But the problem is they eat all bugs. They don't discriminate. So they'll eat butterflies, they'll eat assassin bugs, they'll eat any insect, beneficial or not. And so the Chinese version of the praying mantis is especially harmful because it's huge. It's massive. It's the largest kind. So it grows at least 5 inches. And then it can wreak havoc and take over your garden. So it's never a good idea to bring in beneficials. If you do, make sure it's a native species, but then don't bring in beneficials. Just don't do it. And at this point, you're probably like, why? What's with all the bugs? Like, why? This is not what I thought we would be talking about today. I like to talk about bugs because I think that they show us really good patterns. I think that they're foundations for practices that we can put in every area of our life. So if you're not a farmer, if you don't garden, it's fine. There are still some practices that you can do for a more sustainable, a more just food system. And I will say, food justice is incredibly important because I think that food justice is environmental justice, is social justice, is racial justice, is all of those combined. So if you help one of those things, you're helping all of those things as well. So here are some practices that you can take with you. You can support sustainable agriculture. So does your farmer receive 100% of their profits? If you're purchasing from a big box store, if you're going to Walmart buying produce, going to Target buying produce, whatever, any grocery store buying produce, that farmer, for whatever you paid, that farmer probably got less than 15 cents to the dollar for what you paid for that. If you go to a farmer's market, or if you have a CSA from a local farm, that farmer gets 100% of the profit. There's no middleman, and so 100% of the profit means more money goes into your local food system. which is a really awesome thing. Goes into your local food system, but also your local economy. So that's really awesome. And the next one. And then the next thing you can do is purchase ugly produce. If you go, that one always gets a lot of laughs. They like that one a lot. If you go to the farmer's market, if you go to a co-op store and you see an ugly carrot, guess what? That's usually what the majority of carrots look like. And so when you big industrial farms, if they have ugly carrots, there are usually machines that will take those carrots and whittle them down into baby carrots for you. Most small organic farms do not have that technology. And so when you purchase ugly produce, you're actually just purchasing what it actually looks like. And so I encourage you, even if they have some really beautiful produce and some really ugly produce, go for the ugly produce next time. It's going to taste the same, has the same amount of nutrients, and that farmer might not have to compost that later. Okay, next one. Yeah, most people don't have a carrot whittler. That's something we don't have. And then reduce food waste. This is the last thing. This is huge. When you purchase your food, make sure that you actually use it. My partner is really good at taking bits and bobs from the refrigerator and just chopping it up and then putting it with some quinoa. Make sure that your food is not going to waste. This is actually food waste in landfills is actually a huge huge contributor to greenhouse gas emissions. So one of the things that you can do as a responsible Earth citizen is to eat your food, is to eat it all. And then I wanna end with this. It's been the first time since I've been in a church in a very long time. I used to be I used to be in the Christian church, and I used to give sermons for many years, and now I preach the gospel of sustainability. But I want to close with this poem. I think it's really beautiful, and it's always been a sustainer to me. Be a gardener, dig a ditch, toil and sweat, and turn the earth upside down, and seek the deepness and water plants in time. Continue this labor and make sweet floods to run, and noble and abundant fruits to spring. Take this food and drink and carry it to God as your true worship. So, thank you so much today. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tara. I really enjoyed that. And, now I know kind of why when I would plant big boys and then heirlooms. They didn't like the big boys. They loved the heirlooms though. And you have this beautiful heirloom, and then you turn it around. But yeah, that was a great speech. I got lots of questions, I know. Let's see. Our closing statement. Deep peace of the running waves to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. Deep peace of the infinite peace to you. And if you will stand, we will close with hymn 414. I think most of us kind of know it. As we
leave this friendly place, love gives light to every face. May the kindness which we learn light our hearts till we return.
Thank you. Go in peace. We'll do talk back we'll take a break for about